What's going on, Ravens fans? Welcome into the Baltimore Ravens Rundown, and Merry Christmas Eve to you all. I'll tell you this. There's a little bit of a silver lining having a season the Baltimore Ravens have had so far, is that you have a little bit more interest in the NFL draft. Like, when you're picking in the late 20s, you're excited. We talk about it a lot. You're pumped up, but when you're picking in the mid-teens, there's just a little bit extra juice. So on today's show, we're going to give you a look at the top Ravens NFL draft targets from Mel Kiper's most recently updated big board. There's some names, some guys we need to discuss that could be absolute freaks at the next level and hopefully for the Baltimore Ravens. Do you want for Christmas me to do a mock draft next week? If you do, type those me's in the comment section down below. I want to gauge the interest. There's a lot of you that want it, then screw it, we'll do it. But if there's not a ton of interest, then that's fine. We'll wait until February, March to get those rolling. Let me know if that's something you'd want next week. I type in me. The first two players on Mel Kiper's big board, updated one, are two quarterbacks. Not going to go into too much detail about both these guys. That's Dante and Fernando Mendoza. Both have had great seasons in college football, and both, I believe, have a chance to be really good players at the next level, as just Jeremiyah Love, who comes in at number 3, running back with the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Jeremiyah Love was an absolute freak this year. Over 1,500 total yards, 21 total touchdowns. Now, obviously, running back is not a massive need, not really even a need for the Baltimore Ravens, unless they want to address it late in the NFL draft, obviously because of Derrick Henry's age. But regardless, Jeremiyah Love's going to be a really good player. Arvell Reese, let's discuss him. Linebacker for Ohio State University. Unbelievable defensive talent. Is really, really versatile in his skill set. Can play off the edge. Can play standing up. Almost like a Micah Parsons light. If he's a guy that falls down to you, man, I would pick him up in an absolute instant. Mauigoa, offensive tackle for Miami. He plays violent. He plays sound. He was highly rated coming out of high school, and he's pretty much kept that same rating all throughout college. David Bailey, edge rusher out of Texas Tech, and this is the one I want to spend a little bit of time on. David Bailey, I've got a ton of really big excitement for him. If this is a guy that could fall to Baltimore, I would not even think twice about drafting him because he's got the size, he's got the speed, and he has the, what do we love? Production. So often in the NFL draft, we just throw production to the side and we fall in love with traits. Well, David Bailey, he's got traits you could fall in love with. He's got numbers you could fall in love with. I absolutely love that. Okay, now he's a top 6 talent per the big board. However, there are times where those talents fall a little bit because everybody wants quarterbacks. Some people want offensive line and wide receivers. So we'll see what ends up happening. But if he does get the Ravens range or even close to it, this is a guy I'd love to sweep up. Who do you want to draft round 1? Drop a name for me down below in the comment section. Let me know where you want to go, where you want the Baltimore Ravens go in the first round of the 2026 NFL Draft. Jordyn Tyson, wide receiver out of Arizona State. Kenyon Sadiq comes in at number 8. At number 9 is Carnell Tate. And at number 10 is Makai Lemon. I want to talk about all of these pass catchers, okay? I'll tell you this right now. If any one of them fell down to Baltimore, that would be a really, really intriguing option. Sadiq, especially because say likely he's probably not going to be around. And you just extended Mark Andrews, but he's older. And Sadiq is one of those guys that, he plays the tight end position like a wide receiver. The dude's unbelievable. And Makai Lemon, Jordyn Tyson, Carnell Tate, really good wide receivers that would be hard to pass up on. Because let's face it, it felt like this year was maybe a trial run to see can Zay Flowers be a legitimate, dominant wide receiver one in the National Football League. And I feel like we've got our answer. And if you have to question it or debate it, then you know it deep down. It's going to be hard to pass up on a pass catcher. However, I do believe at the end of the day, the biggest needs are offensive line and defensive line. But there's going to be some, sexy names there. It's going to be hard to pass. Caleb Downs would be one of those guys. It comes in at number 11 on Mel Kiper's big board, safety out of Ohio State. I talked to Jack Sperry, our lead NFL draft analyst, one of them here at Chat Sports, and I just said straight up, is there a player that has ever been as much of a sure thing as Caleb Downs feels like in the National Football League? And he hit me with one answer, simple, no. And I couldn't agree more. Caleb Downs could have started a full season in the NFL this year. He's going to be a stud. He's a sure thing. I can tell you that right now. Sonny Styles, linebacker at OSU, Ohio State University. And I feel like linebacker is going to be an interesting thing to see how the Baltimore Ravens kind of address it in this year's draft. Just given the fact that Roquan Smith is getting a little bit older. Now, I feel like they believe they've got a really good player, of course, in Teddy Buchanan. But how much longer they feel like Roquan Smith's going to play at a level he's being paid for? I think that's going to be a really big question that right now we don't necessarily have the answer to. I got an answer for you guys if you're looking for a more exciting way to watch football, and that's with our great friends over at Prize Picks. It is the holiday season, as close as we could get. And Prize Picks is the best place to go to get in on all the action because it's the best time of the year for sports. Bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, hopefully you bought your gifts, what to eat, which game to watch, there's one place where it feels good to be right, and that's Prize Picks. Prize Picks now is early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. On Prize Picks, how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose Flex Play, but if you want the biggest payouts, go for the Power Play. I know it's early for baseball, but I want to show you guys how cool this option is for Prize Picks because it's December, but you can look at the baseball season and you can take the more or less on 2026 season statistics and season projections. I took the more on Shohei Ohtani, 44.5 home runs, more Aaron Judge, 49.5 home runs, and I'm going to take the less on Juan Soto, 35.5 home runs. If you love baseball, if you love season-long projections, they've got that at Prize Picks as well. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Link to this promo is in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, it is good to be right. Coming up next on our Mel Kiper big board, a guy from my alma mater. Of course, I'm talking about Jermod McCoy, cornerback out of Tennessee. I feel like corner is a need for the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know how early of a need it is, and he's not going to be there for long. I feel like the latest he's going to go is second round because of that ACL tear. He didn't play a single snap this last year, but his 2024 numbers were unbelievable. One of the highest rated players in football. He's going to make a team much better after this year. Spencer Fano, offensive tackle out of Utah, and then Caden McDonald, defensive tackle out of Ohio State. Look, I feel like defensive line, interior needs to be a really, really big priority in the draft. But I also, at times, just being honest with you, transparent with you, I get a little scared about drafting interior defensive linemen. I feel like if you take one of those guys in the first round, we've seen it not work more than we've seen it work. Okay? Now, of course, just because something's happened in the past does not mean it's going to happen in the future. But I feel like that position, you can get a really good player there in the second or third. I don't know. Edge rushers. Up next, Keldrick Falk comes in at number 16, defensive end at Auburn. Really intriguing prospect. A guy I would not be super interested in. I think he's more of a traits guy than he is a production guy. 10 games played, only 2 sacks for the Tigers, 1 hit, a 9.8 pressure rate. But I do believe that edge is one of the biggest needs for the Baltimore Ravens. And so I'll ask you this. I feel like edge is one of them. Edge and probably interior offensive line. What do you think is the biggest need for the Baltimore Ravens? You let me know in the comment section down below. I'm curious. Let me know where you think. Put that Mel Kiper hat on. Be Eric DaCosta. Put the ball cap on. Let me know down below. Next up is a guy we've actually talked about before. Oliva Vega. Let's just call him Vega. Vega Ione. Number 17, interior offensive lineman for Penn State. Would absolutely be all over if this was the pick for the Baltimore Ravens. Rolling with him and Emory Jones Jr. in your interior, chef's kiss. Peter Woods, defensive tackle at Clemson. Really interesting traits, but again, the production necessarily isn't there. So I would like it. I wouldn't be in love with it. Ruben Bain. It's been interesting with Ruben Bain over the last week or so because everybody's kind of found out he's got T-Rex arms, okay? But I think that might serve him well. Like, he's got a little bit of versatility. Like, he can flex to the interior. A lot of people think he's just going to play interior in the National Football League. I don't know if he's big enough. He's a big edge rusher, but he'd be a small interior defensive lineman. Regardless, what I love most about him is the hustle, is the effort he plays with. You never have to question whether he's given effort or not. Amari Washington, defensive lineman out of Oregon. Look, the Ducks had a really, really good defensive line, and a big part of that was because of Washington. Akeem Mesidor, defensive end out of Miami. Now, the interesting thing about Mesidor, okay, he's a late breakout. He's going to be 25 years old on draft night. I am also going to be 25 years old on draft night. Would I draft me? No, but I'm not 6'3", 265 pounds. And I didn't get 7 sacks, 12 tackles lost, and 46 tackles. I feel like he might be even more draftable than Ruben Bain, but it's the age that's going to throw some people off. Zachariah Branch comes in at number 22 for Mel Kiper. This guy is just electric with the football in his hands. I think he's got the ability, and he will be a really, really, really good player in the National Football League. Mansour Delaney, cornerback out of LSU. I think corner, again, like we talked about when it came to Jermod McCoy, I'm more interested in hitting corner, I believe, in like the second, third, or fourth round. But that's the hard thing about cornerback. Like, defensive linemen, you're going to be able to find some good ones in the fourth or fifth. I don't know if I could say the same about the cornerback position. So you might have to hit it earlier than you think, or you just lean on free agency for that. Denzel Boston, wide receiver out of Washington, comes in at 24. And then Kelly Jones out of Mississippi State, cornerback, comes in at number 25. I think one of the coolest things and one of the most redeemable things about Kelly Jones is his size. 6'4", 195 pounds, extremely long cornerback. That size you can't teach, right? You can teach a lot of things in the National Football League. You can't teach 6'4". Well, the Ravens, do they trade down in the first round? Knowing Eric DaCosta, he loves draft picks. He absolutely covets those. Would he trade down? Like, do they feel like their needs are as pressing? Let me know down below. Let's talk other prospects, okay? I got 9 more names for you. Starting off with Zion Young, the edge rusher out of Missouri. And then next, let's talk about another edge rusher out of Missouri. That is Damon Wilson. Both these guys had pretty good seasons for the Tigers. Speaking of another Tiger, let's talk about TJ Parker, edge rusher out of Clemson. I don't think any of these guys, even Cassius Howell out of Texas A&M, are going to be I don't think they're going to be first-round picks. Like, they might be late in the first round. But, like I said, when I was just talking about the cornerback position, you can't get good cornerbacks late. You can get good edge rushers. You can get really good skill players. I mean, look at Zion Young and Dame Wilson, what they were able to do on the same team. 15.5 combined sacks, 24.5 combined tackles for loss. Like, these dudes were unfreaking believable. And then checking in on the Clemson boys. Like, TJ Parker out of Clemson had a great career. Has had a great career. But the big thing that I think is a big red flag is the tail off a little. And then you got Cassius Howell. Love that pressure rate. Love the sacks. Love the hurries. Love the pass rush grade. And he's got the size as well. If you're picking a little bit later, this is the guy that I would love. He'll be available when the Ravens pick. I just don't know how much. I would love picking Cassius Howell at that point in the first round. Like, if you had the same pick you had last year, 27, sign me up for Cassius Howell there. I don't know if I could say the same thing about where you're going to be drafting this year. Anthony Hill, linebacker out of Georgia. C.J. Allen, linebacker Anthony Hill of Texas. C.J. Allen out of Georgia. A.J. Terrell's little brother out of Clemson. Brandon Cisse, cornerback out of South Carolina. Colton Hood, cornerback out of Tennessee. If you want to go corner in the second round, Hood, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a Tennessee alum, I'd be very intrigued by him. Really raw, natural skill set. Has the best numbers out of really any guy that we're comparing right now. Completion percentage 51.9, least amount of yards, 8 pass breakups, and an interception as well. The only thing that would give me some pause with Colton Hood is the size. But again, Not a first rounder, in my opinion. Could be for some other teams, but that's just not necessarily the biggest need right now for the Baltimore Ravens. That's going to do it. A little bit of a longer one today. Appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. Make sure you guys got me followed on socials at Joey Petersen on Twitter. Same thing on Instagram. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And have a Merry Christmas.